If you've cruised lately, you've probably seen it. People walking up to guest services, waiting in line, and asking just one thing.
Can you remove the automatic gratuities, please?
And lately, more and more cruisers than ever are doing it. Because there's one question nobody can seem to answer.
Where does this money even go?
Does it go to your stateroom attendant? Your dining team? The people you never see working behind the scenes? Or does it disappear into some corporate black hole? Today we're cutting through the rumors, the comment section myths, and the cruise ship conspiracy theories. And I'm going to show you exactly who gets your gratuities, how they're split, and what really happens when you remove them. And then at the end of this video, I'll tell you whether I personally leave them on or I take them off, and why. So before you remove your gratuities on your next cruise, watch this first. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Greg, and this is Passports to Places, where we talk cruising, travel, and the things you really want to know before you book your next trip. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Seriously, I do appreciate you. Now, if you find this video helpful, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and consider subscribing. It takes 1 second and it costs you nothing. And it helps this channel more than you think. Let's talk about something that has quietly become one of the most controversial moments of any cruise. That line at guest services, that uncomfortable question, and the decision that sounds simple, but actually affects more people than most cruisers realize. Let's get into it. What are gratuities? So first, let's clear something up. When a cruise line says gratuities, they're really talking about tips, money that gets distributed across the ship to crew members who keep your entire vacation running smoothly. And that includes the people you see every day, like your dining room server, assistant server, bartenders, and your stateroom attendant. But it also includes the people you don't see, the food runners, the housekeeping teams, the laundry staff, and the behind-scenes crew working hard hours below deck to keep everything clean, stocked, and running on schedule. Now, the amount you're charged in gratuities depends on two things: your cruise line and your cabin category. For example, on Celebrity Cruises, standard cabins from interior all the way up to veranda currently run $18 per person per day. But if you're staying in the retreat, that number jumps to $23 per day. And then you have cruise lines like Margaritaville at Sea, which recently raised their gratuities to some of the highest in the industry. And that's not random. In fact, I'm pretty sure I know exactly why they raised them. And in a minute, I'll tell you what's really going on here. Now, there's a lot of cruisers who get confused because not everyone is included in the daily automatic gratuity. Your bartenders, spa technicians, and most specialty dining staff are usually not paid from that pool. Instead, they're covered through a completely separate gratuity charge that gets added when you buy things like a drink package, a spa service, or dinner at a specialty restaurant. And those gratuities usually run about 18 to 20%. Because most drink packages run around $80 per person per day, a 20% gratuity on top of that is another $16 per day. So suddenly, you're not paying $18, you're paying $34 per person per day in gratuities. And here's the key difference. Those drink package gratuities, spa gratuities, and specialty dining gratuities can't be removed. They're locked in. So even if you walk down to guest services and remove your daily automatic gratuities, you're still paying tips, whether you realize it or not. And just as important, there are also plenty of people on board who do not receive a single dollar from your daily gratuities. And these include the ship officers, management, and most of the entertainment performers. It also includes many of the commission-based employees, like retail staff and onboard shops, along with others who are paid a salary or are commissioned workers. In other words, your daily gratuities aren't going to the captain, they're not going to the cruise director, and they're not going to people selling you watches and perfume. Those positions are paid differently. The daily gratuities are designed primarily for the crew members who are working hospitality roles, often on contracts, and who keep the ship running behind the scenes. So the big question becomes, how are gratuities actually divvied up? Most cruise lines will tell you the same thing. Gratuities are pooled and then distributed among the crew members we talked about earlier. And honestly, it's believed that they actually do pool them. But here's the problem. The distribution isn't nearly as transparent as cruisers want it to be. Cruise lines don't release a clear breakdown, and crew members are often tight-lipped about it. Sometimes because they're not allowed to talk about it, and sometimes because they don't even know themselves. Many crew members know what they earn, but they don't always know how much of that is base pay and how much is tip money, or what percentage of the gratuity pool their department actually receives. And it gets even more complicated. because some departments may receive a higher portion of that pool than others. And even within the same department, not every crew member earns the same amount. Some may receive more based on their rank or their experience, or even their negotiated contracted rate. And this is one reason guests in higher class staterooms pay more in gratuities, because higher end cabins usually come with higher end service, more attention, more detail, and often more experienced crew members get assigned to these guests, which means a larger portion of the gratuity pool may be directed their way. But here's the part most people don't realize. It's believed that many crew members are contracted under a system that guarantees a certain wage, a combination of base pay plus gratuities, meaning whether the money comes directly from you or whether the cruise line has to make up the difference, they're still expected to receive a certain guaranteed amount. And that leads to the argument you see everywhere online. People saying cruise lines should pay everyone a living wage and eliminate gratuities completely. And on paper, that sounds great. But the reality on board is a little more complicated. Now recently, an alleged Royal Caribbean pay stub was posted on Reddit, and it exploded. Because at first glance, it looked like proof that the cruise lines were using gratuities to offset cruise wages. And that's what's driving the new trend of cruisers removing automatic gratuities. But here's the thing. That post left out a couple key details that most people have missed. The pay stub lists the employee's guaranteed monthly income at $1,449. And yes, it shows the cruise line covering part of that pay with gratuities. That's what makes people furious, because cruisers assume gratuities should be earned on top of salary, not used to reach it. But that's often not how cruise contracts are structured. And if you look at the numbers, it actually starts to make sense. The pay stub shows the employee earning about $657 in wages, no matter what. That lines up almost perfectly with a low base hourly rate, working long ship hours, around 10 hours a day, and 30 days in a month. Then the remaining amount, about $791, comes from the gratuity pool. So here's the part that cruisers don't realize. If you remove the gratuities, the crew member's contract doesn't suddenly change. If their income is guaranteed, the cruise line is still responsible to make up the difference. And if it happens too often, cruise lines will do one of two things. They'll raise the gratuities to cover the shortfall, or they'll stop calling it gratuities entirely and just roll it into the cruise fare. Same money, different label. So let me ask you, would it feel any different if you paid $700 for a cruise plus $200 in gratuities, or just $900 total with no gratuities listed at all? Either way, the money is leaving your wallet. Drop your opinion in the comments. I really want to hear where you stand. But here's another angle most people don't think about. If cruise lines ever get rid of gratuities completely and just roll everything into the cruise fare, it could actually hurt the crew employees. Because in many parts of the world, tips aren't always taxed the same way as regular wages. So someone might earn a small base paycheck and then make the real money through gratuities. But if you remove these tips and turn everything into salary, suddenly the entire portion of their income becomes taxable, depending on their country's laws, which can shrink what they actually take home. Now let's be honest, cruise employees aren't making life-changing money by US standards. But for many crew members from places like the Philippines or parts of Africa and other developing regions, this job can be a major step up. It can mean supporting parents, paying for school, building a home, or giving their family a better life. And another thing people forget, not every crew member on board is just here for the paycheck. Some are here to experience the world. Some are building experience. Some are even working towards promotions, even becoming an officer one day. Now let's go back to that Reddit pay stub. Did you catch what was missing? Because that paycheck doesn't show the full compensation. Crew members are also getting their room, meals, and medical care provided while on board. And when you factor that in, their overall compensation package starts to look very different from what people assume from a single screenshot. So if you're asking, okay, Greg, what's the best way to actually help the crew? Well, here's the real answer. A lot of cruisers choose to leave the automatic gratuities on and then tip certain crew employees extra during the cruise. And yes, extra tipping is absolutely appreciated. In fact, many crew members say those cash tips can dramatically increase their take-home pay. Now, timing matters. Some guests like to tip their stateroom attendant or butler a little at the beginning and then again at the end. Because let's be honest, it quietly signals, I see you and I appreciate you. And that can lead to a more attentive service throughout the week. When it comes to bartenders, some cruisers tip per drink. And if you've ever done this, you know what happens. They remember your name, they remember your drink, and suddenly the service gets faster and friendlier, and sometimes a little more generous. In the main dining room, it depends on your dining style. If you have set dining, you'll likely have the same waiter all cruise, so tipping at the end makes sense. But if you have anytime dining, you may get different servers every night. So a small nightly tip can go a long way. And here's something people don't realize. Your dining team doesn't just work in the dining room. Many of them rotate into the buffet too. So that server you tipped at dinner might be the same person helping you at breakfast in the morning. Now beyond cash, sometimes the smallest gestures mean the most. A tip inside a short, handwritten thank you note using their name, mentioning where they're from, or asking about their family. That stuff sticks with people because crew members are away from their home for months at a time. And being treated like a human being and not just help matters. But there's one way to reward great service that costs absolutely nothing. That's the end of cruise survey. And this is why crew members push it so hard. A perfect score and mentioning someone by name can sometimes lead to real benefits, like bonuses, better schedules, promotions, and even better cabin assignments. For dining staff, higher scores can mean more tables, and for room attendants, it can mean moving up into better sections or even suite level. So if you want to truly help crew members, leave the gratuities on, tip the people who make their cruise special, and don't forget the survey, because that survey can be just as valuable as cash. So in the end, should you remove or keep automatic gratuities? This is one of the most controversial topics in cruising. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend there's one perfect answer for everyone. Every cruiser's budget is different. Every situation is different. But here's what I do believe. Removing gratuities isn't going to magically punish the cruise line without consequences. Because if the gratuity pools start coming up short, cruise lines will adjust. And that adjustment will almost certainly show up in one of two ways: higher gratuities or higher cruise fares. Either way, the cost is not going to disappear. It's just going to get repackaged. For me personally, I leave the automatic gratuities on. I build it into my cruise budget from the very beginning because I honestly believe that one way or another, this money is eventually going to be rolled into the fare industry-wide. And on top of that, I still tip extra when someone goes above and beyond, even if it's something small. A crew member who remembers your name, a bartender who makes your drink perfect every time, a room attendant who keeps your cabin spotless, or a dining team member who finds you a great table, even on a busy night. I'm not going to tell you exactly how much to tip because everyone's budget is different and everyone's cruise experience is different. But I will say this: if someone made your vacation better, even for a moment, letting them know matters. Now I want to hear from you. Do you remove your gratuities? Do you keep them? And what's your reasoning behind it? And does this video change anything? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those topics where everyone has an opinion, and I'm genuinely curious where you stand. If this video has helped clear things up, hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing to Passports to Places for more cruise tips, travel info, and honest breakdowns like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next adventure.